All right, welcome back to Top Shelf Video. The store is open, and not that I'm disappointed that whoever was working last night left some of the lights on.
Who closed last night?
I'm gonna have to look at the schedule.
Fired. Job opening.
My bad. Pretty
Job
sure
opening.
that's me. I'm not saying it was me, but it was me.
It was your shift.
Yeah.
So whoever was on the schedule with you as manager will have to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay.
Verbal warning. Verbal.
Well, I mean,
Verbal warning. It's fine.
since you're part owner,
Oh, okay.
I get
Shit,
it.
that's right.
Like, so I can't talk too much, but In any case, we're back. The store is open, and we have an interesting movie that we're going to talk about this week. I think we're pulling another. I don't know if I should say childhood favorite, because that seems to worry Denise when I say
Quite a lot.
that this was a childhood favorite.
We did grow up playing soldiers, so it kind of fits.
No, yeah, you're right. Like, so I guess for a little bit of context, like, Jaime, myself, and my younger brother. Our family was 3 boys, so it was very much a boys club or a boys. Yeah, it was a boys club.
Yeah. It was. You weren't on.
And we didn't really have too many female friends. There weren't too many girls in the neighborhood.
Yeah, like cousins, though, right? Like,
we had one female.
They all
cousin.
lived an hour away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We had one female cousin on my dad's side, and that's it. Out of all the other boys, it is a very what is the male gene? Whatever the male gene is, there was a lot of it.
Y.
The Y gene.
XY.
Sure.
Chromosome.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor.
Well, whatever the case being, there was a lot of it on my dad's side. So yeah, we were very much like army kids. Like we liked playing the army, and we liked playing with the trucks, and the GI Joe was a big thing. So GI Joe had a lot of tanks, and so oddly, the movie we're going to talk about, this is a big year, I think, from 1984.
Oh, wow.
But the movie we're talking about today is the movie Tank, and it's just Tank. Like there's no.
Is there an exclamation point at the end? Oh,
no, just Tank.
Okay.
Tank from 1984. This was
James
a big
Garner.
Yeah, James Garner. Rockford Files.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had to look up who this was because obviously I'm not super well versed in old timey movies or whatever. And the two things that kind of stuck out with me, he was the old guy in The Notebook. And he was also in that Space Cowboys movie.
Yes, he was in Space Cowboys.
Yeah, Space Cowboys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That is the extent of my knowledge of his movies.
I have never seen The Notebook.
You've never seen The Notebook? No. Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Have you seen The Notebook, Jaime?
Nah, I'm guilty.
Okay, well there you
go. I haven't
go.
seen it.
I mean, you were in a boys' club.
We watched Tank instead of Notebook.
Yeah,
fair enough.
About books or things like that. It's like if the word book is in the title, it's like nah. Tank is in the title. Oh,
no, yeah. It had to be blowing up. It was kind of a requirement.
Yeah. 1984's Tank, starring James Garner, directed by Marvin Chomsky, who it doesn't seem like he actually, which I think is quite a bummer. It doesn't look like he did a ton of other stuff outside of, he did do other work, but movie wise, it didn't seem like there was a ton there. It seems like a lot of television, TV, made for TV, miniseries, things like that. It almost seems like Tank was like his apex period because there weren't a lot of films that were being done by him or whatnot. But
well, you can see why he threw everything at the wall then with this movie.
Yeah, I think he pushed in all his chips and basically was like, you know what, I'm going all in. We all just watched this. We watched the Kino Lorber Blu-ray version, which was a restoration of a 35 millimeter print. How did your version look, Jaime? Did you find like a high res, like a nice high res version, or did it look more like a VHS?
No, it looked VHS-y. But yeah, no, but it was still good. It was still good quality for what I found. Yeah, man, the memories came like flooding back in, man. It was, I remember it's like, oh yeah, I remember this. I have a feeling I'm going to be doing that a lot for some of these movies, these older movies. I'll be like, oh shit, I remember this, and yeah, I definitely have a different perspective of this movie now that after 26 years in the actual army playing actual soldier.
Right.
And,
yeah. And a lot of stuff I was like, yeah. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Before I guess we just jump into the movie to add additional layer and context. So I mean, honestly, I don't even think Denise knows everything. And actually, let me even go one more step before that. Let me introduce.
Hi.
our employee, our
new temp.
Temp. We're married, so by virtual of bank debt,
that's right.
The bank owns you and me. But yeah, this is Denise, who we do Film to Table podcast, which is like a subcast of this cast of Top Shelf. So in our make believe world, we have the video store, and then right next door we have the restaurant attached to it. So we're constantly changing the menu.
Theme
menu for food
every day.
Almost, weekly every or daily. Day. So Denise and I do that. So welcome, Denise.
Thanks.
Okay, so back to Tank. So again, for layered context, explain to Denise and everybody else like your background in terms of your military time, but also what you did in the military, because it is very important for the movie we're about to talk about.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It was okay. So I do have to, like, right off the top, so I wasn't on a tank, but I was on a tracked vehicle.
Sure.
We were on I spent most of my military time on a Bradley fighting vehicle, which is, I guess, like a tank's the baby brother, basically,
fast moving tank.
Much faster movie. And there's actually a movie based on the development of a Bradley that I'll recommend for later. Yeah, it's called Pentagon. It's called Pentagon Wars. That's going to be on our to-do list.
Okay.
That'll give you a better understanding of the Bradley itself. But as far as track vehicles, when the track breaks and you have to repair that and all that's the same shit. Slightly smaller, but it's still the same concept, a tracked vehicle. So yeah,
the tracker,
it's just
like the wheels, right? The things that get them going.
The linked parts.
There's a sprocket. There's a sprocket in the front, and then it does have wheels.
Okay. Okay.
And then the track is like that connected part that goes all the way around. So the sprocket kind of pulls it. So that way, it's just basically one continuous tire, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Like where Indiana Jones almost got stuck.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
That
exactly.
part. Yeah, those are each one is an individual thing. They're connected together by rods, and I wouldn't say there's a science to it, but it's a pain in the ass when they break. When you got to like put it back together because it can pop off the So.
So you drove them, or you fixed them, or what was it?
I usually as a private, you're the driver. You start at the bottom and you work your way up. So
the bottom
did several
is
years.
Driving. Shit, I would stay.
Oh yeah.
I'd stay driving.
Yeah, I missed driving because as you move up in the ranks, you become the gunner, and then from there, then you become the commander, and you actually control the crew. So by the time I got out of the Bradley, once I left the active military, I was basically, by the time I left, I was a staff sergeant, and I was in charge of my Bradley and my wingman. So I was I controlled the maneuvering of both of those vehicles in our squad. So. But yeah, you basically start as a driver. Then as you move up in the ranks, you become the gunner, and then after that, you become the tank commander, the Bradley commander, however you want to call it. So yeah, just kind of as you get experience, basically as you move up, it's kind of expected that the job below you. So as you move up to a gunner, if you had to jump down, you can still drive.
Sure.
And then like once you're the Bradley commander, you get the orders, you follow the map, you monitor the radios and all that other, important shit. But you still need to know how to jump in the gun if you need to and, kill shit. So
yeah, that makes sense. It's very much like the brigade system, like in the kitchen.
Oh,
like you got to know how to do everything on the line.
I mean, if you were in a proper kitchen.
Yeah, basically.
Right. Well, sure. There you go. Well, then.
So
No. That's good context because I think we're going to have some questions as we talk about the movie itself. So, 1984's Tank is basically, I guess, if we had to summarize the movie, it is. I think actually Joe Bob would consider this redneck exploitation in a way. It's a movie about. It is a movie about an army. I think is a sergeant major. Sergeant major.
Yeah.
Which again, we'll probably have questions on how rankings and things work.
I don't know.
But a sergeant major who has moved to a new military base. He's moved there with his family. This is going to be his last hurrah, I guess, in the army, which is hilarious because he's like 52 and he's talking about retirement. And I'm like,
good old days.
God, man, that sounds awesome.
Must be nice.
That sounds really nice, but not today's not
anytime soon.
But yeah, so he's coming to this army base. I guess he is going to be coming in and either replacing the other guy or whatever. And so he has to get everybody to fall in line and do his system of how he's going to do things and also earn the trust of the men and all those things. So that is like, and so that is how the movie starts. That is like the main premise. And this all takes place. They actually don't say exactly where, even though I looked it up. I think it was Fort Briggs, maybe.
The name
Fort
they
Benning.
use is fictional. Yeah, Fort Benning is
Fort
the
Benning
actual
is where
location.
But I don't.
It was filmed.
Yeah, I don't know what the actual base is. I don't remember.
I don't think they said.
They may have shown it, but I don't.
I think maybe they did.
So it supposedly, I guess, it takes place somewhere in like the Bible Belt or southern
Georgia.
Southern part
it's
of Georgia.
Georgia.
Well, yeah, it is Georgia because they are trying to get across the state line of Georgia and Tennessee.
To Tennessee. Yeah.
So they don't necessarily say where, but we assume that it's like a small, very very conservative part of Georgia, and this army sergeant major has his family and kind of runs into a little bit of trouble with the law.
Are you gonna bury the lead and not say?
Well, hang on. I'm just giving the high premise. So he is getting to learn the town, gets into a little bit of trouble with the law, which I guess is probably not super uncommon in maybe those situations that they set it up in terms of like small town, big army base and whatnot. He gets into a little bit of trouble with the law, and now the law. The strong arm of the Southern law wants their
pound of flesh.
They want their pound of flesh for his wrongdoings and basically make his life hell, which leads to basically the premise of the movie. So, that's the high level. Now we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie. So if anybody has not seen this movie, sorry, but
it's been a minute. It's been 40 years.
Yeah.
It has. Back to the podcast had your time. After you've watched it.
Yeah. Go ahead and you can come back and find out whether if this is a top shelf video or not. So yeah,
you're not going to mention the tank.
Okay, and well, so the sergeant major owns I guess it's a Sherman.
It's a restored World War II Sherman tank.
Sherman tank. Yeah.
He like drives. What is it?
He
I guess
it.
he. Yeah, no, I know, but like literally when he moves to the new base, he's hauling it with the rest of his stuff.
Yeah.
Is that even? Can you do that? Can you take a tank into a base? I guess that's the natural habitat for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, if you own a tank, you got to put it.
Imagine it's like a '57 Chevy that you would tow if you were like a car guy.
Yeah.
But live in the army life. There are guys who.
Yeah.
It's not too common, but you do have the reenactment folks like in real life. they come to Austin to Camp Mabry. They do like a reenactment stuff, like at least once or twice a year, and
with
they
tanks?
got restored. They have guys that show up with vehicles, and there's German vehicles that were restored, and there's tanks that are restored, and they fire blanks, and they do the whole.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
that sounds like a movie in itself.
Oh yeah, I've got pictures from. It's been
crazy.
several years since I've gone to it, but they do they have a whole area, a field where it's like they do a reenactment, and there's guys up there on the M2 machine gun, and they're shooting blanks, and there's guys in old World War II Nazi uniforms and old U.S. soldier uniforms, and they fight it out and put on a show.
Man,
weird. I like it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same thing that they do with the Civil
War,
reenactments.
reenactments.
Similar
and,
idea.
and I think he does reference that when he's being interviewed by the public affairs guys. He's like, I put in a speaker for the parades, and because it's a thing. I mean, you can restore a tank like you could restore, an old Corvette Stingray or something. But, I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit more stuff involved.
Specialization, probably.
Yeah, I don't think you can just put like a Texas plate on the back of it and just drive it to Walmart or some shit.
Drive it to get the tires changed.
It's got some special permits, I'm sure. Which is probably why he would have to store it on the base.
On the base, got it.
That makes sense. Well,
would that be expensive? Do you think? I know we're off topic now.
Well, no. Let's get into the movie, because these questions are going to be relevant, I think, later.
Okay.
So the movie starts, and we'll talk about some of the onset. The family, I guess the movie starts. We'll talk about the things that we like about it too. I love the music in the movie. It starts with the kind of parade sort of what would you call? I'm trying to remember my musical terms.
Fanfare?
Is a march.
Oh, march.
It's like a classic concert march, because it's got
got some flutes, and it's playing like the piccolo, like it sounds like a march. I mean,
it's got the classic snare drum, that's very just standard 1 2 3 4 1 2, and so it's something you would actually march to if you were in the army.
Okay.
So hence the march. And so I love that music because it just kind of gives a very the
atmosphere.
fun atmosphere setting. You get to see the sergeant major rolling in with his family and hauling the tank behind him,
just casually. And
I guess like the son's like wanting to find some rock and roll music, and so they set it up to be very like, oh, this is gonna be a very wholesome, fun, good time,
loosey goosey.
Yeah, this movie's rated PG. By the way,
it's rated PG.
Yeah, we'll talk about that as we kind of get into it. But yes, this movie is rated. Let me double check that. I'm pretty sure this movie is.
I'm looking at it. PG.
PG. Yeah.
And you're gonna have to post a picture of the cover, which I'm sure it's part of the whole deal with your podcast. But yeah, like the cover makes it look like it's a good time. Like it's just good old fashioned shenanigans with a tank.
Yeah. So I guess. They roll into the new army base, and he's being introduced to everybody. Now I know you weren't a sergeant major, but coming into like a new army base, did that seem, they kind of give you slice of life of army family, like moving into into a new base. And I know you hopped around a couple bases. Like, what did you think of that intro? I'm very much interested in that opinion.
Well, it's definitely, I would say now knowing, because obviously, when the movie came out, little did I know that 8 years later I would actually be doing that shit for real. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, my rank, I was kind of low on the totem pole as far as military housing. So, and because I had a family already, we were authorized to find a place off post. So I never got to live on Fort Hood. I never got to live on Fort Polk. But I had plenty of friends that when I got to Fort Hood, they were already, sergeants, higher ranking people than me that had already been there for a while, that,
right.
They were already in military housing. I was on a wait list, but, I ended up going to Korea and then, moved around. So like I was never there long enough to actually qualify and get, get to the top of the list or whatever. But it's your typical cookie cutter looking. Every house is the same. Because it's the military. There's no, everything is standard and uniform. That's
the whole point.
That's what we go on. Right. So, every house is pretty much the same. So everything that they showed when he's in the neighborhood and, everything's the same color, everything's, it's all accurate. It's all very accurate. So,
do those come usually like furnished already?
No.
Okay.
Well, maybe some of the older, higher ranking folks get into like furnished homes, but when in my time in the military, I wasn't playing cards on the weekends with any colonels or generals or shit like
sure,
that. I was hanging out with the guys in the barracks or they'd come to our apartment and we'd grill or whatever. So So even though I'm familiar with that environment, I was never privy enough to actually be in that environment.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
But still, obviously, it's a different, it was a different decade by the time I came around into that world, there's a lot of uniforms that were already kind of outdated by the time I got in.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, this is very Cold War era. This is probably the height of the Cold War. 84?
84?
Yeah, because the wall came down in 89, 90, somewhere around there.
Something like that, yeah. And so, and I joined right out of high school, so that was 92. And by the time I was, done with the basic training and my my schooling and all that stuff, by the time I was with family at a base, it was 1993.
Oh, okay.
90.
Yeah,
because I was
huge
changes.
It was,
So like when the scenes where they're like running around and exercising as the big units.
Yeah, the yellow jumpsuits.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
Oh no.
No. I heard stories about this banana suit. I never got to see it.
Oh, is that a thing? Okay.
Yeah, that was the joke. They were, I think, and I'm pretty sure that's what that was, because they would talk about the banana suit, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
That's amazing.
Ours were gray, and it just said Army, just in bold black letters on the jacket and the shirt. It just said Army.
Gotcha.
That was it.
Yeah,
so it was all gray.
What we're referencing is as the movie starts, and Sergeant Major Zack, I forget what his last name is, but
Carey.
Oh, Carey. So Sergeant Major Carey.
Yeah.
He comes on the base. You get to know him as a character. I like him because and it's kind of funny also as we've gotten older. He is actually what the quintessential like leader type person would be when they say that, because they basically set the movie up with like, we get to know him as a character in that how he likes to lead, how he wants his base run, how he handles the men, how he's gonna, they're gonna go on runs in the banana suits, like at 4:30 in the morning, all that jazz. So I like that about the movie. Like they really, his character is set up really, really well, because he's like, I
guess that's true.
Tough.
There wasn't a lot of exposition about him. They just kind of show him doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah. It's like, what would you like a tough love? But I guess that's an army thing, right? I would imagine is like, you want guys that are, you want guys that are tough on you, but also will be empathetic and listen.
Yeah, good leaders.
Yeah, so they definitely set him up as like he's going to be a very good leader, and you get that from the very onset when he is talking. I guess I guess those are all. There's a scene where he's like at a podium and he's talking to a bunch of people. I assume all like lieutenants and up or something, probably.
It's probably, yeah. So, okay. So the fact that he's a sergeant major in the division, I have to assume that because this is probably meant to be a smaller base. So the division is basically the entire organization on that base.
Okay.
So he is the highest ranking sergeant or what we would call non-commissioned officers. Those are your sergeants, your staff sergeants, your sergeant majors, your first sergeants. You have officers and you have non-commissioned officers, NCOs, right? So based on his rank, sergeant major, and he's the division sergeant major because they reference it several times.
Right.
So I am assuming that he is the highest ranking sergeant on that base. So when they show him in that scene where he's got it, like he's at the podium and he's briefing everybody,
right?
Those are basically underneath him would be like the unit first sergeants or other battalion sergeant majors. Obviously, they didn't get into that kind of detail, but those would be basically the highest leaders of the individual units. And since he's the division guy, he's like, this is how we're going to do it.
Okay.
We're going to emphasize on, like he said, we're going to keep everything in house because we want to keep the officers out of our business. And that is, I can tell you personally that those type of leaders were the ones that we would follow them to do anything, because those are the guys that like they give a shit about the soldiers. And it's typically us. It's typically the sergeants. We look out for the privates or the specialists or the corporals or whatever. I just when he was talking, I was like, I was almost like, I don't want to say teary eyed, but I was like, God damn, that's how I had several leaders just above me that I wanted to be like, because they had that kind of mentality. They were like, we keep it in house. We get our training right, get shit together. It's not that hard to do. Just do your job and just make it happen.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because that is the largest volume of soldiers are going to come through recruitment, right? So it's going to be all the privates and, like you said, non-commissioned officers. That's where the biggest bulk comes, because correct me if I'm wrong, but officers are people that are go to, like, what is it, RTO or
ROTC,
ROTC, and then usually go to college, and then from college they move to military, right? So it's like
it depends.
Well,
it depends. ROTC is basically in like at colleges, like say like at UT, right? There's people that are in ROTC. When they graduate, they become commissioned officers. They usually come in as second lieutenants, which is the lowest rank of officer, and you just kind of work your way up.
Gotcha.
Typically,
makes sense.
Officers are, I don't want to say they're not desk jockeys. I mean, because when you first start as a lieutenant, you're usually with your unit. You're at the ground level, right? And you're learning how to do tactical maneuvering, and you learn how to lead your soldiers on the ground. As you move up in the ranks, obviously, then you're in more of a war room, I guess. Like you're making the plans. Yeah. Once you become more of a tactician and you go to Army War College or whatever it is,
That makes
you
sense.
tend to be more in the back, and you're just making the plans, and then you're just pushing out the plans. The NCOs, the sergeants, and some of the lower ranking officers, we're the ones that actually execute those orders.
Gotcha.
We're the ones on the ground with the soldiers being like, flank left, or go this way, or but the orders come from the guys in the back. So.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I think that gives good context to this character, because, like you were saying, Sergeant Major Carey, he is like one of us, like. Maybe not with the podcast, but he is somebody he is somebody that is very relatable to us, because he started, like you said, he probably started from being somebody who enlisted or whatever and has worked his way up. So I like that, because he's very empathetic, and I as the movie kind of goes on, you see some of the day. Well, shortly thereafter, he goes to the bar and he's trying to get a feel for the base and the people on the base.
Yes,
and he goes to what is called again, I guess,
NCO club.
The NCO club. Is that what that was in where he goes?
I think that's what the wife calls it. I want to say the first one, because there's usually
I think that's what she said.
Yeah, okay. It's usually. I mean, it's not just NCOs that go, but I think.
Is that like on the base?
Yeah.
Or no. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But he refers to it as a disco, because he is 52. He's
everything's
52.
a disco now.
Yeah. He's 52, and the music is
too loud.
It's too loud.
It's too much.
He's the old crusty sergeant.
Right, and he just wants to drink his beer and
shoot the shit,
listen to some honky tonk, and shoot pool.
None of this music.
Yeah, none of this. But I kept laughing, because he kept referring to the funky monkey,
the funky monkey,
and the disco. That
I don't want to listen to disco.
Yeah, and I was just like, good Lord, like
that's what we sound like now, talking about music.
Yeah,
these days.
I mean, to be fair, I guess it's true.
But
so you get a really good feel for him. He actually he goes to the mess hall, I guess, which is the cafeteria sort of place.
The cafeteria is that's the army word for cafeteria. He went to the mess hall.
So he's eating with just the regular soldiers, which I guess the way
it's uncommon.
Yeah,
it's uncommon.
Yeah.
Oh, was that why that was a big deal?
Yeah,
that's why
everybody
the
was
mess sergeant
out?
was freaking out, because it was like, he's doing a surprise inspection. because that was uncommon. He's the new guy who's doing things a little differently. So the other guy, the mess sergeant, and they are like that. They did it perfect, because most mess sergeants are like that. Yeah, and he just lost his shit when the division sergeant major's here, and they're like that. I don't know
that
why.
was confusing at first. I'm like, isn't that where everybody? So they eat at different places. Like if you're on office, you eat somewhere else.
Let's frame that scene just real quick. So there's a scene where they're in the mess hall and they show Sergeant Major Carey sitting there and eating. And then like one of the cooks runs, like he's like running all panicked, like oh shit, oh no, and he's running in the back and he's looking for, I guess, the mess sergeant, and he's running around. And he finds him and he's like Sergeant
he's
Major.
Here.
Yeah, he's here.
He's here. Yeah. And then this big classic looking mess hall, I guess, sergeant, who's this guy who's wearing all white, like chef white with the paper chef hat. Mm-hmm. And he just coming stomping out and he's like, this is just disrespectful, unprofessional, goddamn son of a bitch. Like,
yeah, that's so confusing to me. I had no idea that was a thing.
And so he basically runs out onto the floor of the main floor of the mess hall, and he confronts Sergeant Major Carey and basically telling him that he's like, I served Dwight D. Eisenhower, god damn it, and like I ain't gonna stand for these surprise inspections.
Is bullshit.
Yeah. And then and I think that sums up the character, because he says, I just smelled good food, I wanted to eat with the men, and he's like, I just wanted to eat here. And so
it was not an inspection.
It was not at all an inspection. He just he wanted to eat with the men.
It was lunch.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just lunch for him.
Yeah.
But the I'm sorry, what was it? The mess sergeant is what you said? Or?
Yeah, the mess sergeant. Yeah.
Mess sergeant basically
he runs the kitchen, basically.
Yeah.
He would be like your executive chef.
Yeah. Okay. So he interrogates him at that point and says, well, what do you think? And he's like,
it's delicious.
He's like, the kitchen's
the kitchen's clean.
Floor is clean. No one slops food on the tray.
Yeah, I remember that. That was funny.
Everybody treats with pride and service. He's like,
damn
anybody slop my food on the table, I'll slap them across the head. And then I guess he asks about the apple cobbler. He's like, if you want to talk about my food,
try that apple cobbler. Yeah.
And
he takes a bite and he was like, that's the best.
The best
goddamn the best fucking apple cobbler I ever had.
Yeah.
He's and like, so damn right. And give that man seconds.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that sort of like sums up that character, which is great, because that is one portion of the movie. Mm-hmm. And then you cut to the next part of the movie, which is like, now we're going to build up the
conflict.
The conflict, of the character that he will be up against, which, holy cow, like, this is, I think, where Denise started to freak out a little bit. So as they frame
look, it was a different time.
It was.
And it was not a good time.
It was. And so there's a deputy, how did you pronounce his name?
I don't know. I call him Farmer Hoggett. Because
it was weird.
Euclid.
Euclid
is his first name.
Deputy Euclid, who's played by James Cromwell.
Yeah, the farmer.
I love that guy.
Or I like to think of as.
Is he English or
Zachary
is he American?
Coffin.
I thought he was English.
No, American. I don't think so.
Okay, because he does a good Southern accent.
Yeah, he's First Contact. Is who he is.
Yes.
And then
he was born in L.A.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sheriff. I guess it's Sheriff Buellton.
Buellton?
Yeah, Buellton, played by J.D. Spardling, who is our main villain of this movie.
Yes.
Antagonist. And so basically they frame him up as the movie kind of goes. They start to build that character, which is the most racist, redneck.
Southern racist. Yeah.
Corrupt, like, most horrible human being ever.
Pretty much.
He is
in the state of Georgia.
He is, man, if you were to rank villains, he would have to be up there in a contender, even if we're talking like the Joker or like other like villains that are like,
they wrote him pretty well.
They wrote him very well.
Yeah, if you wanted a villain, they wrote that villain well.
So Sergeant Major Carey gets in a little bit of trouble because he goes to a bar. He finds the type of bar that he likes.
The dive bar that he's looking for.
Exactly.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
So he wanted to go get his suds, and there was a little jukebox, and there's just a couple people hanging out, playing some pool, and
he's in his uniform when he's there, right?
Yes.
So like it's obvious he's military.
Which I remember noticing that, and I was like, that's not. You're not. I mean, I know it was a different era, but like the army I grew up in, it was like you do not.
Oh.
When you're off duty, you don't go drinking in uniform.
Right. Oh, okay.
And I'm sure because of the 80s, that time, I mean, it had to have changed
because
that
was a lot of things.
Because of situations like this, probably.
I mean, we were still smoking we were still smoking in airplanes. So, I mean.
Well, that's true. That's true.
A little different.
I mean, even out of uniform, you still, I mean, most soldiers have high-end tights, the clean shaven, the generic, we're all look the same.
Yeah.
So, but still, just being in uniform was just not a good look. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe
back then it was a thing.
Well, and I think maybe some of it was to frame the movie, right?
To drive the
well, that's true.
The
that's
plot.
true.
It's to kind of be like army versus local
local
because they definitely didn't like the military guys. They just kind of
so that was there. Like maybe the first big kind of I don't know what the proper phrase is, like kind of culture shock for me. For like, I was telling Eli when we were watching, it was such a radical change from like how we are now with military, how we treat military, anybody in like really in the military or formerly from the military or whatever. And it's all the thank you for your service and support the veterans and all that, which is awesome, obviously, because of course do that. It's just funny like watching this movie and they're like, we hate the army. It was such a weird about face from that time.
I mentioned a little bit how like I think during that time period it was not sort of seen that way. Like I think the military was not seen in that same light as much. It was like
defending the country and saving lives.
No, I think post Vietnam, and I think a lot of that. Like I think it
was definitely in a transitional time.
Okay,
I think
when would we say that really changed? Was it like post 9/11, do you think?
Well, I think there's like because I remember there was a whole campaign where they also tried to make the army like be all you could be.
I remember
was at a reflection point of trying to like it's
like be proud of the
and giving a better context of what the military is to the country, and not like it's more about you and what you can do, right, and not so much just like in World War II, people enlisted because there was like war over there, and then further wars kind of became a little, I wouldn't say problematic, but there's there's a whole diatribe about that. But I think in that movie, you get a real sense of like the army were definitely not seen in the same light as they are today.
Right.
And I think that does speak a little bit to the time. So
it was just really interesting to watch from like I guess a modern perspective of, like I said, like kind of almost the complete opposite spectrum of like almost the worship of it these days.
Yeah.
As opposed to back then where it's like, whatever, we'll put up with the army guys, I guess, because we have to.
Yeah, that's very much like we'll put up with the army guys in this town because they also bring revenue and to our small it's like a university at in a small town, right?
That's exactly what I was going to tell you guys.
It feeds everything. Yeah.
But just like that, there are people who get tired of the fraternities tearing up shit and the sororities.
Oh, sure.
So I mean, there is a feel of because there's a lot of little smaller individual units that operate independently, right, in the military, and so you could kind of they have this feel of like a fraternity. A lot of the single guys live in the barracks. In the barracks, it's basically like a frat house. And the same thing. I mean, there's co-eds. I mean, there's some units that are male, female. That are some like your infantry. I don't know what's changed now in the time I've been out, but infantry is completely male. It's an all male unit, right? So you have, it's a just think of like a frat house full of jocks, and they go out into this small town and they tear shit up, and with no repercussions, because they just run back to the base and go hide in get through the gate, and you're you're home free, and never mind that the bars are all tore up and shit. Yeah. So in these small towns, and it's this is probably more common than you realize. With these small towns.
I mean, I can believe that coming from the Philippines. You knew growing up in the Philippines, you don't hang out in the towns where the army bases were. It was just kind of common knowledge. Like there's a certain reputation for towns like that.
Well, I think what you just described, Jaime, is like, it's exactly what happens in the movie, right? Mm-hmm. Like,
yep.
Our Zach, our master, or I keep Sergeant Major. He's having a drink, but he's also having a drink with, I guess the town.
You can say it. We're
No,
all
it's
grown-ups.
town sex worker. Like,
oh, okay.
It
is 2024.
It is 2024.
She's an independent contractor.
That's right.
Exactly. Played by Jenny Lee Harrison, who we know from Three's Company.
Three's Company. Yep.
It is the short-lived seasons where Suzanne Summers was in a contract dispute, I guess, with ABC
production,
and production, and they didn't bring her back for like a year or two, but they brought back her cousin instead of Chrissy Snow. This was Cindy Snow.
Funny.
So they brought her in to be the goofy blonde for 2 seasons, or 2 or 3 seasons or whatever, and then Suzanne Summers came back. But
she kind of had a Denise Richards look about her. I feel
she kind of did
a little bit.
Yeah.
So Sergeant Major is having a couple drinks with the town, the local contractor of the night.
Contractor of the night.
So they're not doing anything but just talking and
chatting,
having
friendly conversation.
But our deputy by James Cromwell,
Farmer Hoggett,
he's not too pleased with this, and I guess the insinuation is that the city allows for legalized, I guess, sex work.
I don't think so.
Well, no, I think they were. They absolutely knew it was happening.
I know, but it's because
that deputy was the pimp.
Yeah, I think that was the insinuation. It was the sheriff and the deputy were kind of running.
Well, that's
business.
what I'm saying. That's why they allow it, because they're
making the money. Yeah,
they're getting their cut. Oh,
right, exactly, and they know that they can from the army people, and they they've got they know the dynamics of what's happening, but our deputy is not too fond of this situation happening, and starts slapping around Sarah, our independent contractor, and things just kind of turn sideways because we have now been given this character that's been built up of Sergeant Major, who's not going to stand for this, and he's not going to stand to see a woman slapped around. So he puts the deputy in his place.
Yeah, they did kind of do some foreshadowing, because remember when he that scene where he has a young lower enlisted, I think he was a corporal.
Oh, that's right.
Remember when he sees the kid that's injured at the hospital.
Oh shit, I forgot
and then
about that.
He says, if you touch again, I'm gonna he threatens him again, handling shit in house.
Right.
Because and he tells him, hey, I want you to go to counseling. I want you, because he's basically not standing up for somebody abusing a weaker, a child, or women,
right. Somebody who
children.
can't stand up for themselves.
So you can almost see the eye twitch with the first time he slaps Sarah. The deputy slaps Sarah, and you just kind of see the face change on the Sergeant Major's face.
Yeah.
It's like nah, fuck that. You don't.
Yeah.
You
don't hit women.
So,
we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
And so he puts the deputy in his place and kind of kicks his ass for a moment.
Open hand slaps him in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
But then quickly, like you mentioned, Jaime, he immediately goes to, I guess, confide in I'm not sure who. I guess he was a sergeant also, Sergeant Tipper.
Can you not?
Yeah. So that office is the provost marshal. That is basically kind of, I guess in the, without, because I don't remember. Kind of, yeah. Basically, it's kind of like going to your MPs.
Right.
Like your military police.
Okay.
So that would be that's why he was going there to file a complaint. Now, I'm not 100% sure just because I managed, I never got in trouble on base. So never had to deal with the provost marshal. But yeah, I'm pretty I'm 99% sure that's what that is. The provost marshal is basically the on post, police department. That's why he went there. The sheriff shows up there.
Yeah.
And that's why he went to him, because he's like, hey, you're going to get something happen. The sergeant major did everything right. He went immediately to, he reported himself in basically and said, hey, I fucked up.
Right.
And that would be the guy to go to, because, he's the liaison between the law enforcement agencies,
Right. And that's when the next morning, Sheriff Buellton comes to the army base and wants his pound of flesh for what's happened, because
it reflected badly on him that his deputy got slapped around in front of everybody.
Yeah. And so he wants the sergeant major, but he can't have him because the army basically, like you said, sort of protected him behind that fence when he kind of ran back and sort of said, like, hey, this is army business that needs to be handled. And I guess they kind of blackmailed the sheriff a little bit by saying, like, you can have him, but then we may tell everybody on the base that the city is off limits to army personnel, that
does still happen.
Yeah.
Really?
Would effectively shut down on that city.
Yeah.
We had a list of off post places when I was at Fort Hood. We had places and Camp Fort Polk also. There was a posted list of unauthorized, you were not allowed to go to these establishments.
Were you
for one reason or the other? I mean, we never. I know, being a private, or in the beginning, I was not they didn't owe me a reason. I just had the list and I had to follow So yeah, there are definitely not allowed to go to lists.
So you never got the tea or find out why who fucked up so bad that they shut down a whole town to you guys?
No. A lot of times it was higher level than than me.
They're not gonna put it in a newsletter.
Yeah. Well, then, so at that point, the sheriff of the town really has really gone a little. I don't know if the word rampant would be the right term, but he basically loses his shit because
he can't wield control in
he's not getting his way,
guys.
So it pisses him off.
And so
Are we going to ignore the fact that he was super extra racist to the guy that he was talking to?
Not only was he racist to everybody that he ran into.
Well, especially this guy. You go marching onto an army base and talk to the guy that's they're in charge of, I don't know, whatever building that is. But he's just straight up being racist at him. You are on their territory. What do you think is going to happen to you if they end up not liking you? What is that? That's so crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't mince his words when it comes to there is
wild.
There is not to get too deep into it, but there are some people that are like, I'm not a racist, and then there is, oh, you're a racist. And this guy was not only saying racist things, but he when he confronts, I guess, the independent contractor of the night, he takes a belt to her bottom in a not a sexual way, in a very
it could have been
no.
I guess,
I'm pretty sure it was a very
it was just a straight up spanking.
It was a straight up spanking in that authoritarian. I run this city as as a father.
Yeah, and I own you.
And I own everybody.
Yeah.
And so if you need a spanking, you're going to get a spanking. And
he was real easy to hate.
Yeah.
Off the bat.
Yeah.
Just immediately.
No, yeah. His little liar, pants on fire. When he said that shit, I was like, oh, this motherfucker. I mean, it was just, oh man. They made it so easy to hate this guy.
Yeah, they really, if
it was fast too. It was establishing that character was really fast.
Yeah, if Sergeant Major Carey was now hey, you know what? I kind of like this guy. I like that he's respecting the mess hall and the
right.
And then you look on the other side.
Yeah.
It's holy shit, do I hate this guy?
Yeah, immediately.
So it was really funny because I feel like by this point when we're watching the movie, and so now the sheriff, he wants to know everything about the sergeant major because he basically is going to cook up a plan because he's going to find a way to get him, and he'll get to him however he needs to. But by this point in the movie, and Denise and I watched this together last night, I think you were looking at me saying, I thought we were going to be watching a Smokey and the Bandit.
Okay, literally what I said was I was here for a good time. I was here for Smokey and the Bandit in a tank. And what I was getting was a racist sheriff, some domestic violence thrown in there on the army base, 20-year-old prostitute unwillingly becoming a prostitute. It was a lot of social issues all at once in my face. And I was like, when does the happy, crazy music come on where they're just running from the crazy sheriff? It was not that. For the first half, it was not that.
Not for the first half. So right around this point, basically, the sheriff now sets up the son.
I was very upset.
He sets up the son of the sergeant major, and basically he's like, oh, he's got like the marijuana, and
it was a lot.
It was a lot. But he basically just a very classic setup of like, is this your locker? Is this your pot? Oh, well, you're going to jail. And so they throw the son into jail, and he throws him in jail, sets him up basically, and now Sergeant Major has to try to figure out, okay, he's got me because he's got my son in jail, and basically, if you want your son, you're gonna have to pay up. We're not gonna go with lawyers. We're not gonna
go to court.
We're not gonna go to court. We're not gonna do anything. I just want cash money.
Literally, just give me a briefcase of money,
and I will consider making this go away. And I'll give you back your son.
No lawyers, though.
No lawyers, nothing.
Jew lawyers is what he says specifically. I'm like, we can make this guy worse then. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
That was
double down on the racism.
Holy cow.
He really pushed down that button as hard as he could push it.
Jeez.
Given every opportunity. So you really hate this guy at this point.
Easy.
And so he comes back home. He is trying to discuss this with his wife, and his wife wants no part of this. She said,
oh, she's freaking out.
She's freaking out, saying that this is their only son, and I want my son, and we're going to get a lawyer, and
because his son's what, like 16, I think.
Yeah, his son is 16.
Yeah, 16. I think that you mentioned it.
And basically, they basically are. He's trying to tell his wife, no, like, you trust me, this guy is different than all the other people that we've dealt with. We don't want to mess with this guy. Let's just do what he needs to say. And I remember because the wife is very upset with the husband, and basically says, I'm not going to have my son negotiated by a bunch of good old boys down south.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, she was
to be fair, she was 100%
totally
right. And shortly thereafter, I guess, while, Sergeant Major's doing his duties around the base, I guess the wife went off and got a lawyer and went to go talk to the sheriff, and this all happens off camera. Quickly. He basically follows through and says what he's going to do, which is going to send his son to basically a working
labor
farm,
camp,
to working farm.
State prison, basically.
State prison where they are doing
hard labor.
It's basically
they're clearing out like the forest.
Yeah, it's basically like slave labor.
It literally is.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
We're just to exercise his power. He gets one of the fucking yahoos there watching over them to whip one of the black prisoners. Like, what the fuck is this movie?
Yeah, that was hardcore. Like
it was a lot.
That was hardcore.
What was he calling it? Negative. Negative feedback. He's calling it negative feedback.
He said that the work was positive feedback because they get exercise, they get to be outside, they get to, I guess, like understand their mistakes, and then negative feedback is basically just beating the shit out of like other people.
Oh, and by the way, your son. What was it that he says? I can't stop the course of love. When they're like
in the
this.
Office.
Yeah, because because there might be degenerates out there in the work camp. Sir, are you insinuating prison rape to the 16-year-old son? Unreal. Outrageous.
Pretty much. Yeah. You were pretty livid.
I don't think there was any insinuation there.
I was
said that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a little road trip on a tank with just little shenanigans running from like a silly little sheriff not
surprise
this craziness. What is this? You guys watch this as children? This is insane.
Yes, as children. Yes.
Yeah, I was probably
wild.
like I was
We
like
didn't
9.
know.
I was like 9 when I watched this movie.
Ridiculous. This
I
first
also
half
thought it
is
was Smokey
wild.
and the Bandit in a tank.
Yeah,
Yes.
the cover and everything. That's what it's selling.
Well, so let's talk about the last half of this movie though, because basically the son is thrown in prison, and we've been waiting to find out like, why is this movie called Tank? We've hardly seen any tanks in this movie.
At this point, I was like, let's get that fucking tank out of the base and level this fucking town.
Well, it turns out
I'm ready.
It turns out that Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major, goes and gets his tank
Thank
because
God.
nothing is working, and he is going to break his son out of state prison with his World War II rebuilt Sherman tank, and just gonna run for the county line. So
he's running to the state line.
Running to the state line
so that he could get what is like a fair trial.
He wants a
fair trial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's not even running from the law. He just is convinced it's so corrupt in that stupid little podunk.
Yeah,
hick
he needs to go to
town.
another law enforcement agency because that one is just corrupt.
But by the book, he's technically running from the law. Like, but in any case, I say that because this is probably why Joe Bob would say that this is a redneck exploitation movie, because this is every 80s redneck exploitation movie, which is Smokey the Bandit is basically running Coors from Georgia to Texas. Yeah. And that's the same premise for Smokey the Bandit 2 and 3. And I think like White Lightning and all these other movies that were like basically just movies about hauling and getting away from the law. And that's it. Like, it's pretty straightforward, except they decide to use a tank for this one. So he breaks out his son, he before he breaks out his son, he goes to find out where his son is, because he assumes he's in the jail, the city jail. Mm-hmm. And the deputy is there. His son is not there. So he decides, well, then I guess we don't need this like town jail anymore.
It was so good.
And that's when the movie basically goes from about like a drama 6 or 7 to just like Smoking the Bandit 11. Because
I was, man, if it hadn't turned
that's when
right
your
then,
music kicks in. Yeah.
I was getting real worked up. I was getting real mad. I was like, you promised Smokey and the Bandit in a tank. I better get Smokey and the Bandit in a tank.
Well, he runs through the building and knocks the whole thing down.
Fucking levels the whole thing. Which is great. Pretty awesome. I kind of want to do it.
Yeah, Denise was actually kind of asking it. This is where some of the follow-up tank questions will kind of come, because she was like, can that really do that? And I was like, I'm pretty sure that
that's what they're built for, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
wild.
Completely capable and completely accurate, running over cars and destroying the brick. Yeah, that stuff's not gonna
fucking rad.
I mean, there's always that chance again of like, throwing the track or doing something, but somebody who's experienced, you just kind of keep it straightforward and don't try to turn while you're doing something crazy. Straightforward, up and back. Yeah, there's nothing stopping that shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so he brings his tank, runs over, destroys the city jail, shuts off all communications of the city.
Blows up
he
the
shoots
new
up
squad car.
He destroys the squad car. He goes to the prison, the state prison, breaks his son out. Well, and he also brings Sarah with him. Because she says, "Well, I got nowhere to go now that you've basically
put me out of
kind of put me
job.
out of work." Yeah, and so I guess to just summarize the last half of the movie, basically,
he just fuck shit up in a tank.
He's just gonna run over anything and everything that he can in the tank. As they try to make their way to the Tennessee-Georgia state line, which leads to a hilarious kind of ending of just
wild.
It's actually very like, as weird as it seemed, that is very much like that would probably still happen today if something. I mean, we saw what happened in the OJ chase down like LA and things like that.
I guess this would be the 80s equivalent of that, because they had a fucking marching band there.
That was so crazy.
They were selling hot dogs.
Their t-shirts. Who made t-shirts already?
Yeah, they were. It was
merchandise.
It was a celebration of running from the law. And I mean, the back half of the movie is just it's
fun. It makes up for it.
It's very visual. It is very fun. It's just kind of
shit blows up.
Yeah, basically. And there's a couple of sequences, where this and that kind of happens. But I think one question I kind of wanted to ask, because like towards the end, they have them. They talk about they are able to disable the tank at the end, and then they have to drag it across the state line. But I guess for Denise and everybody else, like, how hot do tanks get if you're out in like the hot Georgia sun like that?
No, yeah, it can be an ice box when it's cold in the wintertime, and it can be worse than a sauna in the like, especially like this Texas heat.
Yeah.
Those Monday through Friday days being in the motor pool at Fort Hood. Yeah, that was
stinky.
Those were not good times. Well, there's no AC in that shit.
That's what I was going to ask.
No,
I wanted to make sure that was clearly said.
No.
There's no air condition in a. It's like you were saying, right? If the Army's going to build it, it's going to be built by the lowest bidding contractor, and so it just needs to be that like protective steel and an engine that can run.
Yeah, because it's those things are so heavy with the armor. You don't want to have extra shit in there. You're gonna, not only that, but like an air conditioned unit is going to take up space where you could have extra ammo. Gotcha. Or extra supplies. So you just have to kind of suck it up.
How many people could fit in the kind of tank that you used to drive?
So the Bradleys, depending on the purpose of it, because there's different models, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So I was the one in particular, like mine, was for air defense. Right, there was Bradleys for infantry. The mechanized infantry guys, they could carry. I want to say 8 people in the back.
Okay.
So basically, so the Bradley crew is basically the driver, the gunner, and the commander, right? So those 3 are always in there. But depending on what the mission is, like the Bradleys for the infantry guys, you would have a squad in the back. So they you would drop the ramp, they'd dismount, they would take their infantry fighting positions or whatever, and then you close the ramp, and then the 3-man crew goes about their business and cover fire or whatever.
Gotcha.
Now my Bradley in particular, I was in air defense. So what we had was the standard 3-man crew to man the actual tank or Bradley. And then in the back, we had a 2-man Stinger team, which was an air defense handheld weapon system.
Oh, neat.
So it just depends on the mission.
Okay.
The thing about the Bradley was it was I guess customizable.
Oh.
So
interesting.
The Cav Scouts would have more ammo in the back or whatever, and it was just the 3 guys in the 3-man crew, and that was it. Where so we had 5.
Okay, so these like the tank that he was driving, because I know you said it was World War II era. Those are, right. I guess it looked like pretty small in there. It was like just 3 of them, and they were pretty.
Yeah, I think it was
squeezed
just.
In.
I don't know enough about the Sherman tank, but I want to say it was either 3 or 4, because usually, like especially like with the newer tanks like the M1, I want to say it's a 4-man crew, because you have your gunner, your commander, your driver, and then you have a guy that's just a loader,
right?
And all he does is load the ammo into. Because the shells for the newer guns, the newer tanks, they're much bigger. So you got a guy that all he does is just, he just loads the rounds.
Huh.
The shells for this particular the Sherman tank were a little bit smaller. So I guess, I think they showed him, he would load it himself.
Right.
So
right. Okay.
And if you think about like World War II, these had to be built pretty quick and get them out to the front line. So like I'm pretty sure that there was, some thought put into it, but I'm pretty sure for the purpose of what they needed, it was just 3-man crew, get it out.
Got it.
So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, that sort of summarizes, I think, our movie. Basically, we are trying, instead of trying to bootleg cores across the state lines, it is
justice.
It is justice. Hey, I didn't think about that.
Hey.
Justice across the state lines. So yeah, this was a really fun movie, because I feel like if you ever want to see a racist get their comeuppance, this movie really like gives you that like satisfaction feeling of, okay, fine, like you really set up the racist sheriff, but it's good to see the racist sheriff get his like towards the end. So that all said, would we make this a top shelf video selection? I guess I'll start with you, Denise.
Me? Okay, for me personally, maybe because I don't have the history with this movie that you guys have, it's probably a no for me. I liked it. It was fun. But probably no for me. I would recommend it. I would say people watch it. It's fun. It's very much of its time.
Right. I think.
But yeah, not for me.
So you would recommend it to our customers in the store?
I think it would be like deep cuts. I think for discerning customers, I would say like, hey, check this out if you've never seen it before. If you like Smokey and the Bandit or that one Clint Eastwood movie where he's in the army.
Heartbreak Ridge.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Like, if you're a fan of those kinds of movies, this is probably right up your alley because it's kind of, like good old army boys fighting the good fight.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fair. That's fair.
But for casual viewers of the more modern persuasion, it would be a little tough sell.
That's fair.
I would feel.
No. What do you think, Jaime? Is this a top shelf video?
I'm just because of my growing up and love for the military. I'm gonna have to say yes, because and not only that, because again, going back to our concept, this is a movie that I could definitely I have a story to tell. I can have an army story to kind of relate to the customer and be like, oh man, like these things are the tanks are great. I was around them. I was around them.
I love tanks.
Yeah, tanks, blow shit up. I think for now, I mean, until maybe something comes along that knocks it off. I want to say I'm going to put it on my top shelf until till it gets knocked off.
Until it gets blown off. Or that's what you call it, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of like I guess this is my. I don't know how to put it. I guess
the staff recommendation.
I'm going to recommend it just because I have I got stories to tell. So I'm just saying the same thing over. So
I think that's fair. I actually will also say that I think for now I think it is a top shelf video. I think for similar reasons that you were sort of saying in that I like that it is a little bit of a deep cut of that genre of film of that era, which is like, the truck driver, the Chris Christopherson truck driving movie where they're trying to, get stuff across the state lines, or Smokey and the Bandit, or, I mean, there's a whole subgenre of all this kind of stuff. And I feel like this actually fits in that subgenre, but like you said, I think it's more of a deep cut. And I would probably say it probably should be seen if you've seen the majority of those other films. And so if you want to be a completionist, I would be like, hey, you know what? I would agree that you should rent this. That said, it's not really a weekend movie for me. I think this is probably more of a fun weeknight movie. Like, really breaks up your week, kind of fun.
Throw something on. Yeah.
If you're not too fond of maybe your coworkers or somebody that you have to work with, and you're like, man, I really wish I could
work out some tension.
Yeah, I really wish I could give like Bob in sales like his comeuppance. You will get that satisfaction to this movie.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like a midweek sort of movie, but I agree. Like, I would consider this sort of a top shelf, but maybe I would kind of engage the customer a little bit and ask, what.
Yeah, it's a little bit of work to sell it. I feel like a little bit. Just, I mean, in as far as like you have to find the audience for it.
I don't think it's for everybody, but
it's fun though.
It is fun. It is a lot of fun. So yeah, well, in terms of inventory, I mean, when you get the chance, and I'll make sure that you get a hold of this. But if you do watch like the restored version, it's really nice. Like, it's really well done. Like, you can see all the kind of the film grain elements of it all, but it's really well worked. As far as the restoration goes, I think VHS would probably be fine for this one, or even Laserdisc, but I don't know if it necessarily like would add anything. I actually did like watching it. That is something that I did like about this movie that I mentioned, or that I wanted to mention, was just for this being a first time director, for for full film, and I looked up the cinematographer too. This is a really well shot film.
It actually is.
It's really well framed. It's really well just sort of put together. The editing's really it's the best part of any good storytelling type of movie like this is the editing and framing everything in a way. And the movie moves very swiftly and really sets up those characters really, really well. And I think you have to attribute that to like how well it was shot. Yeah. All the tank scenes were awesome.
Awesome. Shout out to that stunt guy on the bike.
Oh yeah.
Which was crazy.
That stunt
the biker guy?
Yeah. At the very end. That was
fucking ate shit. It's crazy.
Yeah. That was awesome. That felt very that's how we can all come together. Even if even the Hells Angels bikers want to help, then that means we can all. It's like
it's for a good cause.
Yeah, it means we can all do this together.
There was an uncomfortable amount of Confederate flags in this movie, though.
There was. Well, like I mentioned to you, I think up until 2001, the Confederate flag was still on the Georgia flag.
I had no idea. Makes sense.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
That's unfortunate, but that is our history.
It was historically accurate for the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would actually want to have this on DVD and Blu-ray. I don't know if I would have too many VHS copies of this. Maybe one for the deep cut guy.
For that one guy.
Who the completionist.
Your doppelganger.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Jaime? Do you in terms of our inventory?
No, I'm good with that. Like you said, one for the traditional, VHS. Gotta watch it on VHS. That's cool. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Cool. All right. Well, I think, I don't know if I would, if I feel like if I bought a poster or a standee or anything else for the store, I feel it would almost be more for me, and I feel like we need to reserve that space for other things. That said, you did mention the poster. If the standee was a tank. If the standee was a tank.
That would be different.
That would be different. That would be kind of cool.
That'd be a big standee, though.
That's true.
Life-size tank standee.
Yeah. I do like the cover of the VHS. Yeah, I do like the poster.
Poster's dope.
I think I don't know if you remember the.
Oh yeah, yep, that's it.
Yep.
Super misleading.
It is. Yeah, it is very misleading.
There are no prostitutes, independent contractors on that. Not
even art. One. Not
well,
even
actually,
one.
if you look,
it is
on
is
the
she
tank.
On
on the tank itself.
Are there racists on there?
Oh yeah, she is on the tank. Yep. Yeah, she's on the tank.
Well,
yeah, you know what? That is giving off some Smokey and the Bandit vibes, Denise.
Oh, right?
I guess
it 100%
are bad for you didn't get the full 411 on that shit before you hit play over there.
I was getting mad if he didn't bust out that tank when he did. I was gonna walk out of there.
Well, yeah, I think that. So I think that covers most of everything for tonight. I think
who's locking up.
Well, I think before we lock up the stores,
I locked up yesterday.
Oh, that's right. I guess I'll have tonight. But anything we want to call out or anything we want to talk about? Maybe I will say it does have me. This movie definitely has me already thinking of other movies that we should definitely watch that are going to be possibly also out of 1984, same era.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good idea. It's 40 years.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That is watching this tonight, there were definitely a couple movies that I immediately thought about that we may want to discuss.
The interesting era.
Yeah. I think.
Yep.
So yeah, there were.
Are we going to have a popcorn machine in our video store? We need to smell the popcorn.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah,
like fresh popcorn
non-negotiable.
all the time.
Yeah, actually, now that you bring that up, I think I'd be happy to have I'm more of a bag kind of person with the small bag of popcorn, not really the cup.
The box.
Yeah, the box is, I don't know. I feel like I'm always fighting the box. I feel like
the box.
The popcorn box, a square popcorn box.
Oh, okay.
I'd rather have the.
Oh, gotcha.
I'd rather have the bag.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can get your hand really down in there and you can kind of work it, and it's easy to kind of tip it up, and drink out of it, or get the little crumblies, and then it's very easy to throw away. It's a little less trash.
Yeah.
I hear you, but hear me out now. The customers have to take that shit home.
That's true.
So it needs to be in the box so that it's not spilling all over the car.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
That's fair. Well, see, I think though, I was thinking more the popcorn is really for when you're walking around the store looking for a selection. Mm-hmm. I'd be a little concerned about the greasy fingers, but I'm okay.
Touche.
I'm not going to be that type of owner that everything has to be pristine because
you didn't. Not like comic book guy.
No. We're not comic book. We're not the comic book store down, like a couple stores down. But while you're walking around,
you turn. Yeah, you flip me. Okay. Yeah. If it's for the walking around,
walking around.
I feel
bag is the way.
Yeah, I feel like we would have to have microwave popcorn for you to take home.
Yeah, for sure.
If we're going to bake you, I guess if we're going to pop some fresh popcorn for you to take home, I think that would actually probably cost you a little more.
Oh yeah,
because we'd have to have that. We'd have to have a bucket.
What is it? Money growing on trees these days?
Well,
it's not gonna be free.
Well, yeah.
When we're ready to have the collector's edition Top Shelf Video commemorative first annual bucket, then we'll
like the antithesis of the Dune bucket because we don't want that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
God. I think we want. Yeah, I think we would want something a little different than that. But yeah, no, this definitely had a couple of movies spinning up, and I think Denise and I will talk about. We actually have a movie planned. We won't say what it is, but we have a movie planned that we're wanting to do. That it's going to be a real challenge for us to try to determine how to pair with a movie that we've been talking about. It's going to be, honestly, it's going to be really hard to try to figure out what we're going to want to pair with this movie. But we're up for the challenge. So we're going to be watching that here soon. And there's a couple other movies that I'm kind of looking forward to that I think, depending on where this episode comes out and whatnot, but, yeah, this should be an interesting year for
you watch your intern. He's just
the intern's
dropping shit all over the place.
He did drop a tape. Bravo Cat, the intern, just threw some tapes off the shelf.
Yeah. Gotta fire that guy.
Yeah, there's a couple movies that I'm kind of looking forward to, but I guess I'll get the front door. If you want to get the. Well, if I get the front door, then you get it. So you get the back door.
Close up the restaurant next door still.
Well, I guess it's true. And then I guess if you
Jaime's got the night off.
Well, he's got the.
He closed last night.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I guess I can get the back door.
Yeah, or you
take out the trash.
If you get the neon if you can get the neon at the very least, then
on your way
we
out.
can do that. But yeah, this was a Top Shelf video podcast for tonight. We will see you guys at the next work shift. So
sounds good.
All right.
Night.
See you.
Night.